Have you ever felt that people look down on you? Imagine if everyone said you were dumb and poor. Today, I'm going to share an amazing story about a brave girl named Ella, a girl who was mocked and doubted by many. They called her dumb and poor almost every day, but then something incredible happened in court. In a twist that no one saw coming, the courtroom turned her life around and made her a winner. Stay with me as we dive into Ella's journey of courage, truth, and a big surprising win. Let me tell you a little bit about Ella. Ella grew up in a small town where not everyone was kind. In her neighborhood, people often whispered that she was not smart because she did not have many books. And they said she was poor because her clothes were old and her house was small. Even though these words could hurt anyone, Ella kept a quiet strength inside her. As a child, Ella loved to read stories and dream about a better future. I remember when I was little, I used to imagine that no matter how many times someone said I wasn't good enough, I would one day show them that they were wrong. Ella felt the same way. Even on the days when she felt very sad because others laughed at her, she also believed that deep inside, she had the power to change her fate. And that belief is what our story's all about. Sometimes life gives us hard words and rough times, but a kind heart and a strong mind can turn any storm into a rainbow. Ella's story shows that even if people call you dumb or say you don't have much, your spirit can shine bright if you keep believing in yourself. Now, one day, something very big happened that started a long journey for Ella. A big company in her town made a serious mistake that hurt many people. Imagine you did not do anything wrong, and yet someone blames you for a huge mess. That is what happened to Ella. The company, instead of taking responsibility, decided to point a finger at Ella. They said, "She is no good. She is too dumb and too poor to understand what happened." This made everyone around her doubt her even more. Friends and even strangers began to say mean things, and it seemed like the whole town was laughing at her. I know it sounds unfair and very hurtful. Have you ever felt sad when someone said something mean about you? That is exactly how Ella felt. But instead of giving up or hiding in her room, she made a brave decision. Ella said, "I will not sit back while they call me names. I will go to court and show the truth." Imagine if your teacher wrongly accused you of cheating on a test, even though you studied and worked hard. You would feel shocked, hurt, and maybe a little scared. But if you could show everyone the real story, you'd want to do it, wouldn't you? That is the spirit of our story today. Preparing for court is not like planning a fun day out. It is serious work, almost like getting ready for the biggest test of your life. Ella had a brilliant lawyer named Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith believed in Ella from the very start and promised that they would uncover the truth. They began by collecting every piece of evidence that could help explain what truly happened. Think of this as gathering puzzle pieces. Mr. Smith and Ella talked to witnesses, collected records, and even found hidden documents that the company had tried to keep secret. Every fact they collected was like a small brick, and together they built a very strong wall of truth. Now you might ask, how does a courtroom work? Well, imagine your school classroom on a test day. The judge in this story is like the teacher who makes sure everyone follows the rules fairly. The lawyers are like teams of students who explain their parts of the story. Each piece of evidence or fact is important, just like every answer on a test can help you pass. Mr. Smith made sure to explain everything in words that everyone, even someone as young as 10 years old, could understand. I really believe that being prepared and knowing the truth will always make you strong. Just like studying for your favorite subject, Preparing for a court case takes time and effort, and in Ella's case, that effort turned out to be the most important part of her win. When the day of the trial finally arrived, the courtroom was filled with tension and hope. Ella sat quietly in the witness chair, her hands a little shaky like when you hold a crayon in your hand for the first time. The judge and the entire room listened very carefully as she began to speak her truth. "I did nothing wrong. I only tried to do what is right all along." As Mr. Smith presented the evidence, something very interesting happened. One by one, the facts painted a clear picture that the company was hiding the truth. They had made mistakes on purpose to save their money, and sadly, they had tried to blame Ella for it all. The judge carefully checked every document and listened carefully to every story. In simple words, the judge looked at all the pieces of evidence like a teacher who reviews every answer on a test to see what is right or wrong. At one point, a lawyer from the company tried to talk fast and confuse everyone. He stumbled over his words like "when you trip while running on the playground." This little moment made many people in the courtroom smile, even though it was a serious meeting, and reminded everyone that truth has a way of shining even in tricky times. I think that part of the story shows us something funny too. Even in very serious places like a courtroom, sometimes a small mistake can remind us that everyone is human. And being human means we can all learn from our mistakes and become better. After many long hours of talking, listening, and looking at all the puzzle pieces, the moment everyone had been waiting for finally came. The judge looked at the evidence and then said something that made the whole room go silent. He announced, "I rule in favor of Ella. The company made a mistake, and they must pay for the harm done." That moment was so exciting. It was like waiting for your team to win a championship game after a long and nerve-wracking match. Suddenly, all the laughter and doubts turned into cheers and applause. Even those who once whispered mean words now looked at Ella with new respect. It was a reminder to everyone that just because someone seems small or different does not mean they are unable to fight for justice. The verdict was more than just a win for Ella. It was a big lesson for the whole town. It showed that if you stand up and tell your truth, even when people think you are dumb or poor, the truth will come out. Ella's win taught everyone that fairness is the most important thing and that every person deserves respect. I always feel that when you see a story like Ella's, it makes you want to believe in yourself a little bit more. It tells us that no matter how rough people's words can be, you can change your life by working hard and holding tight to the truth. Now let's take a minute to understand a bit more about how courts help people. In a courtroom, there are many steps which help make sure that every side gets a fair chance. Filing a complaint. This is like writing down what happened in clear words. Ella, with Mr. Smith's help, told the court what was wrong. Collecting evidence. Just like you gather your toys before going to bed, the lawyers gathered documents, records, and even videos as clues. These clues were very important because they showed the truth. Witnesses speaking up. People who saw what happened came and told their stories. That is like when your friends explain what they saw at recess. The judge's decision. The judge listens carefully to everyone. Then, just like a referee in a game, the judge makes sure the rules are followed and finds out what is fair. Imagine your class working together on a big project. Everyone brings a little piece of the puzzle, and in the end, you create a wonderful picture. That is exactly what happened in Ella's courtroom, where every piece of evidence helped build the big picture of the truth. I believe that understanding how a court works is important for all of us. It teaches us that fairness is not just a word, It's a process. And even if it seems slow and complicated sometimes, it always works to help the truth win over false words. Let me share a little personal thought about Ella's journey. There have been times when I have heard mean words from others, and it hurt a lot. But reading or hearing a story like Ella's reminds me that what other people say does not decide who I am. Ella showed that when you have the courage to stand up and speak your truth, you can change your life, no matter what anyone tells you. When you face a tough day at school or at home, think of Ella and how she built her case with truth and hard work. Even if the problem seems huge, breaking it down into small, clear steps can help you find the right answer, just like in a puzzle or your homework. It is okay to be upset sometimes, but then you must find the strength to gather the pieces of your own story and show everyone what is really true about you. I know that sometimes we feel small, and every mean word can sound very heavy. But Ella's story teaches us that every child, no matter how young or different, can be a hero. All it takes is believing in yourself and standing up for what is right. After the court's verdict, something wonderful happened. Ella was not only given a fair decision, but she also received compensation from the company. With this money, she began to rebuild her life. She fixed up her little home, paid off old bills, and even started a small business that made her proud. The company, on the other hand, had to learn a big lesson. They realized that trying to blame someone because they thought that person was dumb or poor was not only wrong, but it would also hurt their own reputation. Slowly, people in the town began to understand that everyone deserves a fair chance, no matter how much money they have or how others see them. This change in the town was like a breath of fresh air. Neighbors who once whispered started to help each other. Friends began to ask, "How can I be as brave as Ella?" And many children, who had once been told they were not good enough, were now filled with hope. Ella had turned a story of sadness into one of victory, and that victory rippled through the lives of many. I love how this part of the story reminds us that one person's change can bring hope to many others. It's like throwing a stone into a quiet pond. The ripples extend far and wide, touching everyone. Now let's have a little laugh together. You know, in a courtroom, you might imagine everything is very serious and silent. But sometimes funny things happen even in serious places. There was a moment when one lawyer lined up all his papers so carefully that it looked like he was ready for a picnic instead of a trial. Or when a witness, trying very hard to speak clearly, ended up saying a funny word that made even the stern judge crack a tiny smile. These small, light moments remind us that even when life is challenging, a little bit of humor can make everything easier to bear. It is important to remember that everyone makes mistakes, even grown-ups. And sometimes laughing at a silly moment helps us remember that we can face even the toughest challenges with a smile. I always find it funny when I think about a very serious matter being mixed with a bit of silliness. It is like eating your favorite snack when you feel down. Just a little bit of funny can brighten your whole day. Let's take a moment to understand more about another important part of this story, the idea of discovery evidence in a trial. When Ella's lawyer, Mr. Smith, was preparing for the case, he asked the company to share all of their files. Think of it like when you ask your friend to show you all their drawings in art class so you can see every detail. This process is called discovery. During discovery, every document, every picture, and every note becomes like a clue in a detective story. Mr. Smith found out that the company tried to hide important clues that would show they were at fault. These missing pieces were just like when you lose one piece from your favorite puzzle. It makes the whole picture look wrong. And once everyone saw the missing pieces, the judge understood that Ella should not have been blamed. Even though the words like discovery evidence might sound big and tricky, it really just means that every little fact is important. It shows us that when you work hard, step by step, even the hardest problems can be solved. Ella's story tells us, gather all your clues, be patient, and the truth will always come out. I like to think of it as a treasure hunt. Every clue you collect brings you closer to finding that hidden treasure, the truth. And once you find it, you become much stronger and wiser. Now that we have heard Ella's story from beginning to end, let's talk about the lesson it teaches us. First, never let anyone's mean words define who you are. Being called dumb or poor is not your fault. It is only what others think, not what you truly are. Your value comes from your actions, your heart, and your truth. Ella's brave flight to the courtroom showed that by gathering the pieces of the truth and standing up for yourself, you can change how others think, even if it seems impossible at first. Second, this story helps us understand the power of perseverance. Even when you feel alone or misunderstood, keep fighting for what is right. Life might sometimes feel like a long and confusing maze, but each step you take is important. One step at a time, you can build a clear path to success, just like Ella did. And lastly, remember that fairness and truth matter, whether in school, at home, or in a big courtroom. Every person deserves to be heard, and every story deserves to be told in a fair way. When we listen to each other and work together, we make our world a better place. I truly believe that stories like Ella's are not just stories. They are reminders for every one of us that our voices matter. And sometimes when you feel small, knowing that you have the truth on your side can help you grow into a real winner. As we come to the end of Ella's amazing journey, let's remember all the things we learned today. Ella was once mocked and called names, but she never lost hope. With the help of a caring lawyer, a strong belief in herself, and a system that values truth, she changed her fate in a way that surprised everyone. I hope Ella's story has given you a warm feeling inside and helped you understand that no matter how hard someone may try to dim your light by calling you names, you can always shine brighter by standing up for what is true. If you ever feel low or hurt by mean words, remember, you have the strength to gather your own truth, just like Ella did. If you enjoyed listening to this story, please do the following. Hit the like button and share this video with anyone who might need a little boost of courage. Subscribe to our channel so you won't miss more amazing and inspiring stories. And be sure to click on the video in the end screen titled, How to Stand Up for Yourself, to learn more about turning tough times into victories. Thank you so much. Keep believing in your truth. Always stand tall. And remember that every single one of you can be a hero. Until next time, stay strong, keep smiling, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye, everyone, and don't forget, every challenge is just a chance to shine even brighter.